What's up guys, we out here, Obsidian Strength, the life of Kez, featuring...
Hello YouTube, JP here. Will this work? It's recording, isn't it? Nah, it's a shit way to start. Alright, hello, so today we're going to be making a video about deadlifting. As you can see from the name of this video, I'm going to be sharing with you one of my favorite cues. What I want to be doing over the next, few months or so is I want to be sharing a little bit of my knowledge and understanding about technique stuff in all three lifts. So I made a video a long while ago. I've been a bit inactive on YouTube recently, but I made a video a long time ago about shoulder depression on the bench press, which had a really good reception. So I want to make videos like that, pretty brief, just sharing, one or two good, really good nuggets about lifting. So today we're going to be touching on the deadlift, and what I want to share with you today is my favorite cue that I use when I'm teaching someone to deadlift or when I'm thinking about my own deadlifts. It's a bit more advanced, so I wouldn't really recommend this for an intermediate. So if you're still learning the movement, if you're still learning how to do a deadlift in the first place, I wouldn't really consider this something appropriate for you to try and incorporate because there's enough things to think about. But if you're pretty competent in the lift itself, feel free to kind of take on what I'm about to share. Okay, so the cue that I'm going to share with you today is the cue of long arms. This is a cue that I use, like I said, with a lot of my intermediate to advanced lifters. It doesn't always work, and that's something that you need to understand before I go into this video. And a lot of the other videos I'm going to be sharing over the next few months is that a lot of the tips and tricks, I guess you can think about, they don't always work. And if they do, they don't work immediately sometimes because it takes a bit of getting used to. So take this as you will. When I share the cue long arms, what this means is two things. The first is thoracic flexion. Thoracic just means your upper back, and flexion means this. The second part of the long arms cue is scapular depression. So scapula is your shoulders. So depression of the shoulders is this. And I guess the third part of that is having locked elbows. You'll see a lot of lifters, especially beginners to early intermediates, who are trying to get tight in their deadlift, which is what you should be doing. You want to get tight. A lot of lifters, when they try to get tight in their deadlift, they end up shortening their arms, right? So they end up kind of flexing at their bicep, especially if you're doing a mixed grip. They end up shrugging, and they end up protracting. They do this, and they end up overextending the upper back. So they end up doing this, right? Trying to start their lift like this, right? And as we know, the best deadlifters in the world all have one common trait, and that is they've got long arms. Naturally, they have long arms. Structurally, they have long arms. But what I'm trying to say here is, in your lift, you want to artificially give yourself long arms. And that is by lengthening your arms through those things that I mentioned. So that's thoracic flexion, and that's through scapular depression, and that's through locking your elbows. So I'll show you what that looks like. So say for example I'm here. You can imagine that if I really squeeze my shoulder blades and get tight like this, my arms are here, right? I'm not even grabbing the bar. So the only way to get down to the bar is I've got to bend over more, like this. Right, which is a really awkward position to get into. Whereas from the same spot, without actually bending my knees or my hips, I can still grab the bar by lengthening. So from this position here, you can see my shoulders depress and protract. They protract, they go forward. My elbows lock, and my thoracic flexes, like this. Now I'm not going to go into the debate about upper back rounding or anything like that. But that's the idea, upper back rounding. You want to round your upper back slightly. So this is all well and good. This lengthens your arms and it essentially decreases the range of motion of the lift. Now there are some caveats to this technique and there's some things that you need to be aware of. The first is that it makes it really difficult to get your lats on. So a lot of lifters, when they're trying to sit up in their lift, they want to get the lats tight, or they're cute, lats tight, tight, back, tight, something. And they end up in this posture that I just mentioned before, that is this action. Right, so if you come around and look at my upper back, you'll see is that someone might start here, and then when they try and get tight, they do this. Because they're trying to get their lats on, but what they end up doing is their rhomboids switch on, so they end up protracting, and they end up extending their upper back, right, which again shortens your arms. So the challenge then is to get your lats on without doing that. Now funnily enough, your lats are actually a scapular depressor, so they should be helping you with that. But doing this doesn't engage your lats at all. What your lats do is that they're an extensor of the shoulder, and that basically means they do this. They do this action. and they keep the bar really close. So the first point that you need to become aware of that. You need to think about pulling the bar into your legs with your arms, doing this action. So what you can see here is I've set up the band around the bar, and what the band's doing is it's applying tension that way. So what I'm going to be doing is while I'm set up, I'm going to have to use my lats to extend my shoulders and keep the bar close. So it's this action. If I let go of the bar, obviously it rolls forward. So it's a really good way, really good drill that you can use in your warm-ups to help you get your lats up. Okay, so the second point that you need to be aware of is that with the thoracic flexion part, that by doing so, you essentially are giving away range of motion in one place and putting it elsewhere. So what I'm trying to say here is that by rounding over, you're essentially making the part off the floor easier because you're reaching down to the floor a little bit easier. But that range of motion doesn't just disappear, it has to express itself somewhere else, because in the final position you have to lock out. So by rounding over at the start, you make the lockout a lot harder. So if you're the kind of lifter that has trouble with the lockout already, thoracic flexion at the start or like upper back rounding is only going to compound that issue. So there's a bit of a trade-off. You don't want to go too far. Some lifters round over their upper backs heaps and they're still able to finish that lockout position, but it's really, really difficult. So that's the second caveat that you need to be aware of. Don't exaggerate too far the thoracic flexion because it just makes the lockout a lot harder. Okay, so that's it. The cue is long arms. It's one of my favorite cues. Again, don't use it where it's not appropriate, something to experiment with. But the idea is lock your elbows, depress your scapula and protract your scapula and flex your thoracic. And the trick is to try to engage your lats without retracting your shoulders because that just makes things harder for yourself. It's really important to understand that this works for both sumo and conventional. So this is a very universal technique. It works for both. So I'll show you what the final product looks like. Alright, that's the video guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comment section below and I'll get to them. If you've got any suggestions on future video topics surrounding technique, I can do that for you. But just let me know. Thanks for watching guys and I will chat to you next time. Bye.